This video is for you. We're going to be touching on some very important issues here. Don't forget, it's for you to discuss later, and don't forget it can happen to you.
Today's young people want to grow up much faster, but what they don't realise is responsibilities that an adult has. So that's why we're here asking you just to listen and to make sure you know all the responsibilities an adult needs. Sex is an embarrassing thing to talk about, perhaps to your parents or to your friends. So if you really want to know what you're doing, you should take a lot of notice of the sex education at schools if it's available.
That was a joke. What we got was this film, right, with spiders and birds and bees, right? No human beings, just birds and bees, right? And you see them flying about, sitting on top of each other. You know, it doesn't get in there. It just doesn't reach. And the next thing you see, this woman's on this delivery table having a baby. What, you know what I mean? How did it get there? You don't know. You see, so as far as my school sex education was, it was nil.
Sex education within schools now is very variable. One school will have quite good sex education, other schools will have practically none. A big problem is the way sex education is presented, because it's often birds and bees, just the facts of menstruation, ovulation and this sort of thing, and often talking about rabbits and frogs, and doesn't really relate to the girl herself or to the boy. So I think sex education has to be changed so that it becomes more about learning about life, learning about how to be a good parent as well, learning to make choices about whether or not you go out with a boy or a girl, whether or not you have sex, and whether or not that sex then leads on to a pregnancy, and what to do about it if you do get pregnant. A lot of sex education is too isolated now and divorced from what's actually happening in the young person's life. Also, it needs to start very early, because most of the girls who I see who are pregnant as schoolgirls haven't had any sex education at all, either at home or at school. And often the sex education in school has happened after they've already got pregnant.
Today there's the AIDS problem. Now, it's awful the fact there's this horrible virus that's actually gone around to make people aware that contraception is there and it's for you to use. This is where a sturdy relationship comes in, where you must build up a relationship where you're able to talk to your partner about all these subjects.
Juliet, I hear you and Don have been going out together for quite a few years now. How do you feel about responsibility about sex and contraception and so on? Are you expected to take all the responsibility, or you share it with Don?
I think it should. We do share the responsibility. I think it needs to be a shared responsibility, because I don't feel that there should be pressure put on one person, you know.
Like some guys think it's up to the woman to decide, you know what I mean, to go on the pill or something, to use they don't think it's part of their responsibility. They think, right, you know what I mean, we're going to do something. It's up to you to decide if you want to get pregnant or if you want to go on the pill. It's not up to them, they think. It's up to you and you alone.
Well, my boyfriend himself, he did take responsibility as well, but it just didn't work.
The best thing to do though is to talk through with it, talk it through with your partner, right? Say to them like, are you willing to use a condom or something like that, you know? And if he says no, well, keep your legs shut.
The best sort of relationships are when the man and the woman play an equal part in the responsibility of contraception. And I think both men and women should realise that. It's not the women's responsibility only to look after contraception. Men have to be involved too. That may mean that they're going to use the condom, the sheath, as a form of contraception. It may mean that they will come along with their partner to the clinic to sort out some sort of contraception that the woman will use. But he must be involved. You can't have sex in a good relationship without both partners being involved in contraception. It can no longer be seen just as the woman's responsibility.
Okay, there's loads of organisations that can help with any problem that you have. They're sympathetic, they're helpful, and they're there for you. They can help you with subjects on abortion, contraception, and it's not only for women, it's also there for men. And those organisations are Brooke, Family Planning Association, the British Pregnancy Advisory Service. So don't forget that. They're there for you, no one else but for you. So use it.
Brooke centres are there for young people to use, both young men and young women. People can come alone or they can come with their partners. Men can come with another male friend or with their girlfriends. We're happy to see all young people. We offer advice on contraception and supplies. We offer pregnancy counselling, pregnancy testing, and counselling for any emotional problems or worries that young people may have. The service is completely free and confidential, and we're happy to see people whenever they feel they need us. We have 21 centres in 7 different cities, and that's in Birmingham, Bristol, Coventry, London, Merseyside, Edinburgh, and Burnley in North East Lancashire.
The Family Planning Association has 11 regional offices up and down the country who offer advice on sexuality and relationships for all age ranges. We feel that boys and young men should be involved in decisions about sexuality and contraception, and not just women and girls. We feel very strongly that every child should be a wanted child, and that every sexual relationship should be a wanted sexual relationship. And in the case of young people, we would say that either they should be saying no to unwanted sex, or they should be using contraception. Abortion should not, under any circumstances, be thought of as a method of birth control. There are impartial agencies and organisations up and down the country who can give help and advice to young people, and young people should take advantage of this and use them when they need help or advice.
If you want to have sex but you don't want to get pregnant, the most important thing to remember is contraception. You can't possibly have sex and not expect to get pregnant unless you have contraception. And abortion is the last resort. So remember, if you want sex, you have to have contraception.
At the time I became pregnant, my boyfriend and I weren't using any contraception. I'd just come off the pill. I realise now that that was probably one of the most stupid things I've ever done in my life. I could have saved myself a whole load of trouble if I hadn't been quite so thoughtless, careless really about that. I mean, just going to my GP in order to arrange a pregnancy test, I mean, he said to me, "How did you get pregnant?" And I sort of fumbled around embarrassedly and said, "Oh, the usual way." And you don't think at the time that you are going to get pregnant.
Obviously, the best kind of relationship is one where both partners can discuss whether they're going to have sex or not and when they want to do that. But the most important thing after that is that when you do have sex, you use contraception. And that's important for the boys to remember as well as the girls, because the boys can certainly take their own precautions and get sheaths or condoms from a clinic free, or buy them from a chemist. And the girls can go and talk about a whole range of contraceptives they may be able to use, either at a Brooke centre, if there's one near where they live, or at a family planning clinic, or with their own GP if they feel happy to do that. But the most important thing for everyone to remember is that if you have sex without using contraception, you could get pregnant.
I was using contraception, I was using condoms and diaphragm at different times, and I don't think I ever really trusted them fully. I couldn't go on the pill for medical reasons, and so I was forced to use other methods, and I wasn't very happy with that, and it was a fear at the back of my mind, not like a constant threat, but it was something that I thought about, and practically every month I'd be panicking just in case I had got pregnant. And so when it did actually happen, I wasn't very surprised.
The other thing that's important to remember is that there is an after-sex contraception. If by any chance you have sex, you hadn't been expecting to, but you did have sex, you can take what's called the morning after pill, and that can be taken up to 3 days after having unprotected sex. There's also a morning after coil, which can be put in up to 5 days after having unprotected sex, and both have a very high chance of stopping an unplanned pregnancy. So even if you had made a mistake, do go along and seek advice, and that you can stop an unwanted pregnancy. Some girls get pregnant very young. That's fine if they want the baby, but it's very expensive and emotionally draining. So you must remember that being a mother is a lifetime job.
Although some people can't handle having kids, you know, at a young age, but it's like, well, if they can't handle it, it's best for them to get rid of it. But because I knew I could handle it, I had to. But I don't like to put my views forward, but people want to have abortions, it's up to them.
Well, I don't believe in an abortion. I don't agree with it. It's a life you're taking away. You shouldn't do that.
I think there are a number of reasons behind teenage pregnancies that I have assumed or concluded from working with young women. One of perhaps the main ones that it appears to me to be is that a lot of young women, perhaps some, may have missed out on a lot of love and affection in their own upbringing, and for some young women they feel that if they have a baby, they're able to give something and then to receive back something from their baby, and to perhaps care for their baby in a better way than they were cared for themselves.
Yeah, like now girls our age, right, they have their money and whatnot and can go out and spend it on themselves and that, yeah. But now with a baby you cannot do that. You just can't. You've got to buy stuff for your baby. You've got to realise because the baby comes first. You come after your baby comes first.
Another reason I think for many young women, if they've had a hard time growing up and perhaps missed out on their education and see themselves as they grow up with very little sense of purpose in their lives, sometimes too many of the women I meet don't seem to value themselves as people very much, and perhaps they feel that by having a child it'll give them some sense of purpose and will validate them.
But it's really day by day that you have to go through life once you've got a baby, day by day, not month by month. You know, it's really, once you get used to it, it's all right, but, you know, you shouldn't really say, oh, having a baby's going to be easy, yeah. All I'm going to have to do is change the nappy, feed it, and that's it. No. There's a lot more to it than that. Like now, he's on solid foods, right? You've got to think about, have you got enough solid foods for the week? Has he got enough juice? Because you give him juice with the food. Has he got enough juice? Has he got enough nappies? And now you've got to budget your money to a certain amount. Like once you've bought his nappies and all that, you've got about £2-3 left for the week. And that means you've got a budget to 50 pence or 75 pence a day, which isn't a lot of fun, I'll tell you that. Especially if you smoke as well. Isn't a lot of fun at all. It's not all laughs. It's not.
Occasionally too, it does seem to me that some young women, if they are having problems with their relationship with their boyfriend, they will get pregnant by their boyfriend with the hope that that will keep the relationship together, that they won't lose the boyfriend. And I think they hope that by bearing his child, he will have more motivation to stay with them and to support them.
So what about the father?
Well, he doesn't really want to know, innit? So I'll just manage by myself.
Do you think that would be tough?
Yes, it will be tough, but I'll cope.
Never any regrets?
Well,
Yes and no. I wish that it didn't happen so soon, so I could see a bit more of the world and everything. But I mean, I've got to live with that now. That I'm pregnant and I'm going to have a baby, and that's it.
What about you two? Any regrets?
No. I'm glad I've got it.
Yes, baby, I'm glad I've got him. Really glad.
Abortion. Never be afraid to decide for yourself that you want an abortion. The choice is actually yours.
I don't think the decision to have an abortion can ever be an easy one to make. In my case, it certainly wasn't. On a purely rational and logical ground, it was quite clear cut that was what I was going to have to do. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a partner. I would have had to have been a single parent. I was supposed to be living in France at the time. I had a degree to complete. And in that sense, abortion seemed to me to be my only solution. But having said that, it all got wrapped up in a lot of emotional turmoil. It was like having an abortion was the end of anything that was good in my relationship with my boyfriend, and I was desperate to keep hold of that, even for a little while. Whilst in my better mind, I knew that I couldn't possibly do that, and it was going to be the best for me to have a termination as soon as possible. I wouldn't have been a good mother at the time, and I wouldn't have thought it was fair to bring a child into the world like that.
I don't really think about the child or the fetus when I had the abortion, because my life wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to have a baby then, and it's not connected with the child that I have now. So no, I don't think about the abortion that I had before. It was a different time in my life.
I'm a big boy now.
I know you're a big boy now.
I went to the doctor and she gave me a pregnancy test just to, because we weren't absolutely certain what was wrong with me, and then of course the test came back and I was pregnant, and she was very nice about it and very understanding, and she just said, well, what do you want to do? And basically left the choice to me, and she said, you know, you have these options, you can have it or you cannot have it. And I just explained that I didn't want to have a child because, I mean, firstly there was no way I could support a child on unemployment benefit, which is what I was living off, and I didn't want one either. You know, it just wasn't what I wanted at all. And she was very understanding and said that was fair enough.
When a young woman thinks she may be pregnant, she can come to Brooke for a free pregnancy test, just to confirm whether or not she is pregnant. And the earlier in the pregnancy, the better for that. So if somebody has missed a period and they want to find out whether they are pregnant, they should get in touch with their Brooke Centre or family planning clinic or their GP as soon as possible. Don't delay on that. When they come to Brooke, they will see a counsellor who will give the young woman the chance to think about the pregnancy and to decide whether she wants to carry on with the pregnancy and actually have the baby, or whether she feels it's best to terminate the pregnancy and be referred for an abortion. Now, the counsellor will be prepared to see her once or twice or more times if it takes that long for the young woman to decide. But it is very important that it is her own decision. The counsellor won't be telling her what to do. No one will be advising her. She will come to her own decision in her own time. If her partner is involved, then he too can see the counsellor, and we're very happy to do that. And it may be with the woman or perhaps on his own as well. If she decides that she is going to have an abortion, she will see the doctor at Brooke, and the Brooke Centre will refer her to the local NHS hospital for an operation. And she will go along to that hospital to see one of the consultants or the registrars in that team and be booked in for the operation. Very occasionally, she may not be able to get a National Health Service abortion, and she may have to go to one of the charity agencies. But the Brooke Centre will make sure that she goes somewhere for the abortion and will follow her up afterwards. So if she wants to talk about the whole experience afterwards,
so that she can really come to terms with it. She can come and see the counsellor again for what we call post-abortion counselling, and that of course is free as well.
I got referred to a hospital, and all the doctors and nurses were very, very sympathetic and understanding. They were very helpful. I didn't meet anyone at all who was nasty to me in any way, or judgmental or moralistic. They just accepted that it was my choice and that was what I wanted to do. And they just, took me to hospital and went through it as if it was any operation, any other operation at all. There was no, nastiness about it. It was very, very nice.
I received practically no support at all from my partner when I became pregnant. Whilst I could understand his emotions about it and his confusion about what was happening, I really felt that he owed a little bit more to me than what I actually got from him in the end. He really didn't want to have anything to do with it. He asked me to leave the house. I didn't have anywhere to go. In the end, I had to go and stay with my brother in London.
I felt that I was left out of the whole decision-making process, but I did feel anyway that the final decision lies with Diana. So we would have come to the same conclusion in any case.
I think it's important that it's discussed between a couple. Obviously, like anything like contraception should be discussed between a couple. It should be a decision that you come to together. I think men can be very, very supportive. They can, make things very easy for you and helpful for you, but they can also do the complete opposite and make it really awful for you if they, do not allow you to make a final choice.
When I was pregnant with Tom, I did think about the abortion that I'd had, but only in the sense that when you're thinking about having an abortion, you hear all these stories about what can happen to you the next time you're pregnant. You hear stories that you can abort, you hear stories that you can miscarry, you hear stories even that your baby is born deformed. And these are myths that people tell you about, and this is why I was really sad that I hadn't gone to be advised by somebody professional that could tell me that all these things were stories and nothing was going to happen to the baby that I was carrying now. And in fact, all through my pregnancy, I was really healthy, and Tom was born and he was really normal and it was really lovely. And I didn't feel guilty about the abortion that I'd had before.
No, I think I coped reasonably well. I don't think I got very depressed. I don't think.
I think there were times when we had sort of flashbacks, I could say.
Yeah, I mean, I perhaps get a little bit upset thinking and romanticising about I could have had a child and wouldn't it have been lovely, and looking at little baby clothes and little babies in the street. But I mean, that was just very, very sort of brief. I mean, I knew that I'd made the right decision. There was never any doubt that I shouldn't have done it. It's not an easy decision just to say, right, I'm going to go and have an abortion and I'm going in at 8 o'clock and I'll be out at 5, and then get on with your life the next day. It's not easy like that. It's a difficult decision to make.
It probably brought us together, I think.
Ultimately, I think it did bring us closer together.
Now you've all seen the video.
I hope you sit down and discuss it. I wish I'd seen this video. It's good.
It wasn't about in my days.
You're so lucky.
didn't have things like this in our days.
I know. I mean, I had this really bad problem one day. We were given a letter to be given to our parents to see this sex education film, and my mother didn't agree with it at all, but I signed it and I sat through the video and I saw it about twice, which was really good.
We just certainly didn't have pop stars, I can tell you. We had about 50-year-old woman telling us, and we were so bored we didn't listen. But we hope we're not as boring.
We're not giving away our ages, but we couldn't even say condom.